Welcome back. You're listening to Green Rapids.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun.
Hold on a second. Is this recording?
Is this thing on?
Is this? Yes.
It looks a little low.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
We
We're
haven't done
adjusting.
this since
last year.
November. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're welcome back. Welcome back to you, Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. To everyone.
To everyone.
Yeah. We are here in March.
Getting ready to launch. We have a couple updates for y'all since we haven't aired in a few months. So we want to kind of just go over kind of like an overview of how our break was. And by break, we don't mean like break from work, but like, break from recording and such.
Good God, there's not been a break from work. Shit's been popping.
Shizzle has been popping, to say the least.
No one's really noticed, though.
Like, there's nothing going on in the world.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Everything is fine. But what is most fine, Nancy, the biggest update, is now an official, or an elected official. She's officially an elected official.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so... Yeah, so we're mentioning this just kind of out of transparency.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not something that I could mention while being a candidate because of nonprofit shenanigans.
It's exactly what I would call it.
But the truth is that, I am now a Kent County Commissioner for District 20, which is that northern half of Wyoming, like north of 28th Street, and like a southwest sliver of Grand Rapids, including the Black Hills, Roosevelt Park neighborhoods, and the Burton Heights. So,
Represent. No, but I think that's great.
In short, the hood.
One of the little hoods that we have here in Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
I think, two parts, obviously, being a woman representing. Is that you are the first woman to represent that area?
Latina to represent
First
that area.
Latina
And
to
first
represent that
woman
area.
also,
Yeah. So that's the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Ivan was there before you, which gave the Latino representation, but to have a woman of color who resonates largely with the community that lives there, I think is just a really big win for everybody. We shouldn't be represented in our communities by folks that don't understand like the personal struggles that we have. So just yay.
So I'm excited.
We got a good one, guys.
Thanks.
Yep. And just to mention, Roosevelt Park, Black Hills is the most polluted.
Those are some of the EJ areas that we work in and that we've mentioned in past episodes. So y'all know, your girl knows what's up. And
So call her right now if you have a problem in your neighborhood. Blow her up. No, don't. But show her some appreciation and love. And also, when elections come back around, do your best to elect someone who represents who you are.
Thank you for that. So that's, I think, probably the most like flashy update we have. But
Anything that flashy.
But we've been doing some planning while we've been gone. We've especially been looking at what we want to do differently in season 3. We know that like last year was crazy because, it was an election year. Erica and I were both doing like get out the vote type of work. So, we were really caught up with like just like splitting our attention between a variety of different projects and like kind of crunchier timelines than we usually have in our line of work. So it's good to just be back and have a little bit more leeway and flexibility with what we're focusing our work hours on. And we're really happy to be able to put more of our attention into the podcast.
Yeah. Well, or even like being able to talk about elected officials without that being an endorsement. Like just having a stance.
Yeah, we had to be so mum about it last year.
Yeah, and just so people know, for transparency, climate is a partisan issue in, the eyes of the nonprofit world. And so it becomes more difficult then where we like can't even tell people about some of the, serious things that might be going on because it could just be like seen as us.
Rules.
Yeah, it could be seen as us saying like we're openly supporting a specific party. And that's not the truth. Climate knows no party lines. Climate does not care about who you vote for.
Yeah.
I mean, we would benefit from specific people.
Supported and betrayed across party lines.
Climate's kind of like, what's up with your democratic system?
It's like, Are y'all still there?
Yeah, so just want to also name that it becomes kind of difficult, but we're always going to do our best to be able to give people access to the information they need, access to things that are going to help them change their communities, and yeah, just super cool to still be able to be here, do this. I'm sitting next to an elected official, you guys.
It's chill though.
Yeah, I'm wearing a hoodie. We're we're casual. She's wearing a hoodie. I'm wearing a hoodie.
Yeah.
There's no suits,
No suits
no
yet.
ties.
No blazers.
So anyway,
No gods, no masters.
what else is exciting about us starting in March is it is
Women's
History Month, or I almost called it International Women's Month. Women's History, probably all the same. But a really, really good time to recognize women who are making a big impact in our communities and in the environmental justice sector.
We're going to be wrapping up with that in a bit, but we also want to just name that we're with you on a lot of things. We all know that there's been this endless stream of bad news kind of coming down from on high, if you will. Politically, it gets no secret that it's a tough time for environmental justice right now, right? A lot of things like the EPA is being gutted. A lot of other governmental federal programming or acts or protections for the environment are being rolled back.
Yeah.
I just read that Donald Trump just is trying to, or President Trump is trying to, I know,
Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump, is trying to get logging going, just full sending on logging in a lot of our old growth forests.
He's declared an energy emergency. And this is saying that no one can stop the production because we're at an all-time need of fossil fuels and energy for this country. And so Nancy's talking about the things that are kind of being ignored, like environmental protections, because of the fast track of some of these.
Yeah. So we're definitely
projects.
rolling back on things like environmental protections, pushing forward gas. What do they call it? Pedal to the metal with fossil fuels, and it's a really, really, obviously it's a bad mix, right?
I'm sorry, we're living in idiocracy.
Yes.
Have you seen that movie?
Yes.
It's just when are we going to start using Gatorade for the plants? That's actually how I'm feeling. And just to even further that point, the food injustice, the worker injustice, the migrant injustice that we're seeing. This is all a climate injustice.
Yeah.
This is all, and really, most migrants are here because they've left their environment. So it's just a frustrating space to be in.
Yeah, I saw a map a couple of days ago that showed countries with the biggest output of greenhouse gases and pollution and all that stuff. And then it also showed, and in a separate layer, it showed countries most impacted by pollution and greenhouse gases and all that stuff. Just seeing more climate catastrophes, and it really is some of the wealthiest countries, especially ours, this one.
Yeah.
As far as the output are some of the worst offenders, but because we're so insulated, both kind of where we are on the equator. But also just economically compared to a lot of other systems.
And then we live in a fancy bubble.
Yeah, we're just not seeing a lot of, we are seeing a lot of those impacts, but we're not seeing them to the degree that a lot of those so-called first world countries do, right? So.
And a solid reminder that countries are not poor, they're exploited. As an example, the entire continent of Africa has some of the most rich resource that you could possibly want, and they're exploited. That's why the people there, it's colonization. They have corrupted their government to the point where it's difficult to come up from. This is generational pain, and every day there are billionaire corporations trying to get into these different countries and take what they can from them, and then they leave the residents there and the indigenous people of those spaces displaced. And so we create the migrant issue, as consumers and as, lovers of capitalism in this country. And so I think just a solid reminder, right? That's also at the hands of us. If you really don't want folks migrating here, why don't we just treat them better in their homes?
Yeah.
No one wants to leave
No.
their entire existence. You
Yeah, it's
know.
heavy, like leaving your family and everything behind.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, you know, obviously like imperialism is kind of like one of the ingredients there too, and you know, and even just things like that really kind of like, we say it a lot, but really just try to be like a mindful consumer. Like for example, like I go out of my way to buy like a hazelnut spread, which is kind of like Nutella, except that it's like palm oil free, because I know palm oil is one of the leading causes of deforestation.
You guys should have seen her the other day when we were at Martha's.
I love Martha's.
We were there for a reason, and so was Nancy. Nancy
will
was
be revealed later.
you beelined.
I beelined for that hazelnut spread because I know what I want.
Because it's the good stuff, and it's a good alternative to just supporting the brand that we're used to seeing.
Yeah,
it's probably tastes better too.
Oh, it's so good.
The ingredient base, I'm sure, it might be a little more expensive, but
barely, by like $1 maybe. Yeah. And
$1,
and it comes in a glass jar, not plastic.
$1 might as well be a quarter.
You know, in this economy.
In this economy. And I don't want to take all your talking points, but I just, you know, I think for some of the potential interviewees, you know, things that we would like to talk to folks about, something I see on here and I really, really appreciate is like park rangers. All the things that are happening within our national parks, within, you know, just the funding for national, you know, or nationally
spaces,
protected land, federally protected land. There's a real good reason why that protection is in place. Ignoring it, taking jobs from the folks, you know, even if you think it's like someone's picking up trash, like that litter adds up and it matters. If you've ever been to a national park, you just know you don't mess with them. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would love to speak to folks who protect our parks, but also just as we talk about some of the things we're seeing in our present world. That
a lot of changes these last 2 months.
Yeah.
It's a little scary. And like, I'm just going to call it out.
And that's how I feel all the time.
That's also kind of how I feel all the time. I also just want to call out, like Project 2025 is no secret, right? Like, it's not a conspiracy theory. Like, it's a published document. You can go to the Heritage Foundation's website and look at it there.
We had a warning about it.
So, like, we've known that some of the stuff is coming down the pipeline. I think a lot of what's been shocking is knowing how fast some of these things are coming down the pipeline. Actually, one of my friends informed me recently that apparently Project 2025 is already 70% implemented. Which is like, what comes next?
Well, it was 2025. I guess he was talking about this year. But, you know, what does give me hope within that, and I'm really glad you brought that up, is there's so much that he's enacting that's not going to be able to follow through. Just there are, to my fingers are crossed hard, there are systems that vet your executive orders, right? You can't just write something into order and then have that be the existence forever. There are houses and there is, you know, the Senate, and there's judicial systems, there's Congress, there's checks and there's balances. And so there is a system that it has to go through before you can completely enact all of these things, even if there can still be damage done in the in-between time. But I think what it's doing is it's making people realize, like, I need to use my voice. There are things I can do within my community to make a larger impact than what these federal things maybe are making. And I gained so much from seeing all of the like big protests at these parks or big protests for, you know, against ICE or just like anything that it is, you know. I think that you should be out there speaking about the realities of these things. And I think it's beautiful to see people band together.
Yeah. And this is also a good spot for me to also plug in Climate Cafe. I don't know that we're going to catch, by the time this episode's out, I know that we'll be able to catch like this next one, but there is one coming up in...
It'd be for April, maybe.
April.
Yeah, and you know, I guess while you're finding that date, remember this, right? You're going to miss the next one because I think it's next week. This will be airing the week following. But mark it in your calendar for April. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that this feeling that you might be feeling today is going to fully dissipate.
Mm-hmm.
And Climate Cafe is just a good place for you to be able to talk to folks, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's ran by Nancy and Nate.
And we're
Like,
pretty cool. And I
they're
do say
no,
so
the coolest
myself.
people that I work with.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you say that. It makes me
Well,
happy.
duh. I'm glad I work with you.
All right, I'll find it later, but
But it's
we'll
usually
add it
what,
in the
like
show notes.
mid to end of the month, correct?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's usually roughly 4 weeks out from the last. Um, and what we'll do is make it a point to plug it properly. Something I think we want to work on too is just making sure we keep up with relevant topics. You know, make sure that our episodes are keeping you up to date on things
We
like a
want to
climate
serve the tea
cafe.
hot.
Yes, we want you to be like, whoa. I thought I was ready to drink. Neat.
Scalding my tongue a little bit.
Oh.
We want it to be that fresh.
We want to ruin your taste buds. I mean, not ruin them, but like
You know,
remind you you're alive.
give you a little zip, a little zippy.
Yeah.
So that's one of our goals, and like that is, there's obviously a few little challenges of doing that within like a 2-week format podcast, but we're hoping to
course.
really leverage our Instagram a lot more. So please continue to follow us there and stay in touch.
Yeah, those are always posted. Climate Cafe has their own Instagram page, so
Climate Cafe GR.
maybe what we'll do is we can like add collaboration or something like that.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so there has been a lot of changes, a lot of shifts. I think maybe Nancy, if you want to go ahead and name some of these, because I like what you have a list here for. You know, we are really early in our season, and we don't have the entire thing planned out. So we're gonna need people to talk to.
We have goals. Some of those goals include we would like to expand our so-called coverage area. Like this podcast is called Green Rapids, and we love like this hyper-local focus, and we will continue to do the hyper-local focus when it comes to like current events and things happening in, you know, just relevant political things that are happening related to EJ that we can cover. So there's definitely still going to be like the local focus as far as like updates and such. However, as far as like our interviewees, like I'm not gonna say we've tapped out our local base, but we're getting close. So we're gonna be expanding
the ones we like. Just kidding. Kidding.
Yeah, if you haven't been on this because
Yeah, because you haven't been on.
it's okay.
I'm just,
There's
no, but you're right.
yeah,
You know,
but we like to have like a variety of experts, right? So some of the experts that we're looking to have in this third season, which if this is you, please reach out to us.
or a friend.
If you know
someone
somebody.
know.
I mean, everybody here is like 3 degrees of separation apart. So,
Absolutely.
you know, I'm hoping that we can make some of those valuable connections. But if you are a forager, you really just have to be like a nerd about it. We don't need any certification or anything.
Yeah, right. Like, do you go into the woods and look for mushrooms?
Yeah. Do you know what the mushrooms look like?
Yeah.
Do you know how to
I
define?
don't.
Can you describe them? Okay. If you're a forager, if you're a park ranger, or in light of
out.
recent events, an ex-park ranger, if you are an urban arborist, if you work in food justice, if you work in urban agriculture, if you work in composting or electrifying, or otherwise just kind of like things connected to like that clean energy space, environmental justice history, if you're an expert on local policy and how it impacts environmental, like, you know, implementation, things like that we want you. Health and wellness as it relates to environmental justice. So if you're like medical expert of some kind, and you're one of your focuses is, you know, pollution and how it impacts asthma or what have you, like anything like that, we'd love to have you on. We also want to, if you're an expert in mental health and you also know a lot of the intersectional themes between mental health and environmental justice, we also want to talk to you. And if you are someone who's like maybe like a political analyst and you're like a policy nerd, you know, like all the laws, the bills, ordinances and all those things that are coming through and how those impact EJ or influence EJ or things that we should know about that we can support, we also want to talk to you. So again, foragers, park rangers, urban arborists, food justice folks, urban agriculture folks, composting, electrifying, environmental justice history, local policy, health and wellness, mental health, politics and policy, etc. As long and especially just like if you have some knowledge on how some of those topics intersect with environmental justice, let's talk.
Yeah. And I think it's really nice to just have a range, you know. It's funny as you were naming things, I'm like, well, I do know a couple people in Grand Rapids that I want to reach out to. But, you know, I think once we get to like further our reach, some of the most interesting and compelling things that I've learned in my organizing experience was like when we were in New Orleans and we learned about some of the resilience that the community has, how they went about it, the truth and reality behind what they're facing. You know, when we've talked to like Darren from Just Air or who's in Detroit, or Naomi Davis, I believe her last name is, and she's with Blacks and Green in Chicago. And so just like hearing from different people's perspectives, maybe they're in a space that has more people of color, maybe they're in a space that has more impact. So just want to name that too. It's just nice to broaden our reach, and I think we want the folks of Grand Rapids to not just have information from the folks in Grand Rapids.
Yeah. It's important to know what's going on statewide too. So to that end, we are also hoping to, like I said before, like expand our so-called coverage area and doing a lot more things that are, you know, bringing in folks for interviews, like even like statewide. There's a lot of really great work being done in Detroit, so there's a lot of folks that we want to tap into there. A lot of super cool activism.
I just love
I love Detroit folks.
It's so good.
It's so good. They know what they're doing.
I
mean, not like the city.
Yeah, right. No, Detroit has
like Detroit residents.
I will always say, yeah, Detroit residents. Come on now.
Yeah.
But like
y'all are doing the work.
I always say like Detroit has problems that only Detroit could have. Like that's a whole nother episode.
Exactly.
But we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. And then just like some last things we want to do for the season, we want to include more video content. So for that, like we want to do maybe more like reels, just to, like I said, serve the tea piping hot. We would like to have more events, and we want to listen to your ideas of what kind of events you would like to attend. We know everybody's tired. There's a lot going on in the world, but if there's some kind of event that you think would be beneficial to you, bring you joy, let us know. And also, maybe some merch. Maybe it's that time.
Ooh, girl, I want a Green Rapids t-shirt. I want a hoodie.
Especially if it's like on a thrifted t-shirt.
Oh my God. You know? Stop it right now. Let's reach out to George.
Yeah.
You know what I want? I want to have a Green Rapids block party.
Yeah.
We should have a block party. All right, guys.
07.
That's it.
Okay. That's it for those updates.
No, I mean, that's it. I'm planning a block party. But yeah, that is it for the updates too.
Okay. So we want to just spend this last few minutes of the episode just elevating some woman in climate in honor of Women's History Month.
Well, so we are women.
Bam. And we're in Egypt. But we will not be elevating ourselves today.
We're not going to be elevating ourselves today. There are lots of folks that we can elevate in our community. You know, I'll go ahead and name a few just because, you know, Alita Kelly, who does a lot of work in food justice. Janet Zahn, who does a lot of work in everything. Baby girl is out here volunteering her entire existence. You know, Jan O'Connell,
Sierra Club.
Jan
All the
Straight,
Jans.
all the
It's a whole
Jans.
club. Okay, so there's like Janet Zahn from the Grand Rapids Climate Coalition, Jan O'Connell from the Sierra Club, and then Jan Straight from Citizens Climate Lobby.
All
So
fantastic
we
ladies.
have a trio.
But then we also have people like Iris Gibson.
Yeah,
We have
from
people
C4.
like Frederica Brown, our colleague, who is out here talking to parents. We've got Signy Jordan Gant, and she owns a business. You know, she's advocating for her community constantly.
Yeah.
There's
Staunch advocate of EJ issues for sure.
huge. You know, and so there are a number of other women, not to leave anybody out, but just to name a few in Grand Rapids. You know, there are a lot of really awesome people who are doing this work here. And I think women have had this special ability to take the environmental justice movement to a different level.
I would also like to give a callback to our That's What She Said episode
Ooh, ooh.
from, was that our first or second season? I think it was our second, right?
First,
First?
I can find this. There's a
Yeah.
fact to this.
There's a fact there. But we have done a episode on women and climate. We did not do it during Women's Month last time. But, you know, if it's something that you want to explore further, we can go ahead and check that one out. If you want to just hear about some women outside of the ones that we plan on highlighting today.
It was 2023. It was our first season, which
First
is
season.
wild to say that that was 2023.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Time flies.
Where are we right now? Sorry for that last comment. But no, there's lots of reference, you know, and I think throughout our entire podcast history, we've highlighted women. We've talked about them, obviously, again, being women. This is something that we have to do ourselves sometimes. But women are the closest to the front line, especially women who are in these exploited countries. And they're often the ones who are muted
Yeah.
the quickest and most frequently.
Yeah.
So important to shout the ladies out.
And it sounds like you have a particularly cool one to shout out today.
Yeah, you know, I'm really excited. So I do some work with Line 5 advocacy. And so this one is really exciting. This person is really exciting to highlight just because this is an Indigenous woman. So her name is Winona LaDuke, also one of my favorite names. But Winona is an activist in the Minnesota area. So her father was native from the White Earth Reservation. And so when we talk about Midwest, when we talk about the problems that we're facing in the Midwest, when we talk about things like Line 5, this is somebody who automatically understands that. This is a direct impact on her community and folks like her. But she does direct activism, trying to get more sustainable development and locally based environmental conscious production into everything from food to energy.
Yeah.
So she has a nonprofit called White Earth Land Recovery Project and has rejuvenated the cultivation of wild rice in Minnesota.
Wow.
She sells traditional foods under its label Native Harvest, and she's also the co-founder of Honor the Earth, a Native-led organization that provides grants to Native-run environmental initiatives.
Nice.
I'm reading this off of something I'll share at the end of this, but this she says power, she says, is in the earth, and it's in your relationship to the earth. By providing a model for that relationship, she hopes that other peoples, as well as Native American tribes, can set the value of sustainable, connected living. I feel,
Fire.
Dude, I hope I can have a legacy like Winona, because like to connect people back to what it is to be a piece of this earth, to do it in a way that is going to bring like rejuvenation and restoration, not only to the land, but to the folks that live there. This is somebody who is constantly putting their life to better the environment. It's not only a part of the things that she's passionate about, it's part of who she is as a Indigenous woman. And Indigenous people hold a lot of the answers to getting through our climate crisis. A couple things, just, you know, to continue that point, the concept of Mother Nature
Yeah.
often comes from Indigenous teachings.
Yeah.
It's the idea that women or people who identify women tend to have this like divine feminine energy, and that is a soft, loving, nurturing, empathetic energy, and those are the types of action that brings us to restoration,
Yeah.
both for our souls and for the
whole planet.
the
The whole
planet.
thing.
You know, we are one of nature. And so just really want to highlight not only someone who's doing all of these things in existence and practice and activism, but then also just we need to listen to Native women.
Yes.
We need to listen to Native peoples. We need to understand what they were doing before we came through and
Yeah.
changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
This person is still alive and well. There's
Yeah.
lots of organizations that you can get connected to from her or through her. And this, I learned about her through an article about the Guardians of the Planet. It's 16 women environmentalists you should know. And this is from amightygirl.com. And this is just a blog post that you can look into.
Mm-hmm.
There's a list along with, 15 other women, including Winona, a few that you'll probably recognize, like Jane Goodall, Greta, is it Thunberg?
Sure.
I don't know how to say her last name. What is it?
I don't know. I guess
Someone correct me.
I've really honestly only ever read it. I don't know that I've heard somebody say it out loud.
That
in
was
recent
a
memory.
bold decision on my behalf. But
I
regardless,
support it.
yeah, no, I'm living in it right now.
Uh-huh.
But just lots of really great folks to uplift and very easy information to find.
Mm-hmm. That was great. And I also like that the list you mentioned did have like a global array of women in environment.
Yes.
Like there was a woman from Africa, there was some woman from India. I'm guessing you felt that Winona was relevant just because it's kind of related to like our region specifically. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, well, and there's some white women on there, and I'm going to be totally honest. Like, everybody knows who Jane and Greta are.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
they get enough clout.
So,
But and like just one last reflection from what you shared too is like that across like hundreds of mythologies and cultures, like globally around the world, like anything related to like the earth or nature is typically seen as like feminine or given like some kind of like goddess status. So yeah, I just think that is an interesting kind of connection to make.
yeah, and because it's something of nature, it's something that exists within all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think,
But it's where everything is born from.
yeah, well, everything is born from that. And also, like, there is, like, how we both hold masculine energy as we also hold feminine energy. So feminine does not have to be specific to the gender that you were assigned when you were born. Feminine does not have to mean that you identify as a woman. Feminine is just a piece of what it is to exist in this planet, and it tends to be a much more nurturing space for things to thrive.
Yeah.
And so that's really, I think, the piece that where we tie to Mother Earth, I don't know, I love the concept.
I like the concept too. It's really inspiring. I'm gonna rip off also kind of following this theme of Indigenous woman, because the person that I want to highlight is actually somebody that I work with pretty regularly. She's like a colleague in just like the environmental justice movement. I'm really fortunate to be on a couple of different like working groups with her, and that woman is Andrea Pierce. She's an Indigenous woman. She's actually part of the Little Traverse Bay of Ottawa Indians. She's a citizen. She works for the Michigan Environmental Justice Caucus, which is a coalition of people and organizations that are working to advance like pro-climate policy, and not just climate, but like especially climate with that justice lens, which we know is incredibly important. Because otherwise, environmentalism without the justice aspect is basically just green capitalism, So really intentional about that. She has honestly done so much. Like I could do a whole episode on her, and actually we will, because we are planning on having her as an interviewee soon. But just like a quick little bio, like she's been the lead organizer with like this movement called Idle No More Michigan, which is an Indigenous grassroots movement about like line pollution. And then she also is really, really active in the shutting down Line 5 advocacy groups. We all know Line 5. I mean, we did an episode about it. It's called More Than Just Water Under the Bridge, if I remember correctly.
That sounds right.
And so she's really, really active in the Line 5 space. Again, she's a water protector. She's like a nature protector. She just really, really believes that, we're not separate from nature, and the fact that we continue to act like it is not only harming the planet, but also it's harming us as a species. So she's done a lot of really great stuff. one of the cool events that comes up annually is called Pipe Out Paddle Up Flotilla, and that's where a lot of folks kind of get on their kayaks or canoes and go out and kayak near Line 5 and hold up signs being like, shut down Line 5.
Because what the hell? Why is there a pipeline in the Great Lakes?
Look.
20% of the world's fresh surface water?
You have strong feelings about that.
Well, it's just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
So yeah, the paddle out, the pipe out, paddle out.
She's done, okay, so one of the weirdest random things that she's done is she was actually one of 4 citizens that recovered and I quote, 10,000-year-old cultural sacred site at the Straits of Mackinac in an effort to bring awareness to the ticking time bomb that is Line 5, end quote. And that was read from her bio at michiganej.org. So.
Very cool. Okay, so we learned a little fact as well.
She's like, so now she's like an archaeologist by accident.
Oops. Very cool.
But just like a huge advocate of like, conserving tribal lands, like protecting air, water, soil. Like, she's a force, and I can't wait for you all to learn more about her when we bring her into the room with us.
Yeah, actually, she just did a conversation with MyCan. It was on
Remind us what MyCan is for any newcomers.
Michigan Climate Action Network. Anytime, Commissioner. Yes, Commissioner. It's like, yes, Chef, but
Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, Commissioner. No, she just did a conversation with Michigan Climate Action Network on fault solutions. Brian O'Mara was so he's a tunnel expert, and then she spoke from her perspective as a expert in environmentalism, as a expert of her lived experience as an Indigenous person, and she talked a lot about some of the concerns around having a pipeline in the Great Lakes. She talked a lot about the concerns of the construction and the man camps that are brought in along with construction. Man camps statistically raise the rates of missing and murdered Indigenous women because of where they're stationed in these like rural areas that are often by these reservations, and the laws for protecting them are different. And so often folks get, the worst impacts of construction on top of altering the ecosystem of where they exist.
But also just like literal, just like human evilness.
Things that would never be okay no matter who you are and where you go. So just, really want to give her a shout out because she's out here speaking on very serious, issues. Another person in Michigan dedicating their life to the cause, another Indigenous woman dedicating their life to this cause.
Yep. So we will be featuring her in a future episode, and just really pick her brain on everything that she's done. Because trust me, the woman's got a biography.
And in the stories, every time we interview someone, I'm like, forget about what you do today. Your story about how you got to this point. And I'm like,
it's always so fun to like tease that out.
Yes, it's because often, it's this great story of building this person who now is this admirable, leader. Likely a matriarch in her own community.
Yes, absolutely.
So just, oh my goodness, that's so exciting to think about. Women are so much cooler than men. Girls rule, boys drool.
Look, one of my favorite things about Nikola Tesla, who is my historical hottie crush, is that he really did believe that women should be running the world. And I'm like, dang right, Nikola.
Look, I guess we'll never know unless women get to have the upper hand at ruling for the next 2,000 plus years. We'll just never be able to test the theory to see, are women less violent? Do women make better decisions for their communities? Is empathy something that can be woven into politics?
Okay, so I will say yes, only because President Claudia Sheinbaum,
I'm saying yes to all those things.
Who is the president of Mexico, is doing some phenomenal work.
That's my crush. That's my current crush right now.
She's so cool.
She's so cool. She's connecting historical landmarks that people have a difficult time getting to by rail.
Dope.
I mean, on top of all the cool things she's doing, she's
Yeah.
like, my people are going to be able to
Yes.
see where
She's
they
letting
come
people
from.
choose if they want to learn their indigenous language instead of like a colonizer language in school, like learning
Come
Nahuatl,
on.
which is one of the many indigenous languages in Mexico, but probably definitely one of the more common ones. She's like, they're starting production on a all Mexican electric vehicle. So it's gonna be like
Mm.
sourced, designed, produced, etc. all in
Do you
Mexico.
know how bad I wish I was Mexican right now?
Dude,
Like right now, sitting here as you're talking about it, I'm like,
Do you know
I
how-
love being black. Oh my God, I love it. But like, damn it, that
look,
sounds
you
great.
could be, I was like, there's Mexican folks.
No, there is. Also, I could pass.
You
If I
could.
learn some fluent Spanish,
You will pass us off for Latina
give me
any day.
5 years.
But and the cool thing about that car is that it's called Olin, which is Nahuatl for movement, which I was just like, whew,
Ah,
so good.
man, that's
Um,
good. That's good stuff.
It's good stuff. So I'm really excited to see what else she does. Trust your girl is looking into a dual citizenship.
Oh, girl,
situation.
come on.
You know,
There might not be a season 4 of Green Rapids. But really, shit, we might have to cut this season early. No,
the
but
Green Rapids coming at you from Mexico
yeah, from
City.
Mexico, both of us. My landlord lives in Mexico City.
Oh, there you go.
No, not there we go. We got a white man
Connect.
named Tom with owning 4 properties in Grand Rapids living in Mexico City.
Okay, I did. While I was in Mexico last year, I did see that there's actually people out there that are definitely expats. Like they're ex-Americans that
Yes.
just said, "I'm just gonna live out here."
Okay, so
Mixed
that's one of
feelings.
the cities I've been looking into.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just since we're talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
it has been the intelligent way forward
Mm-hmm.
for so many different people
Mm-hmm.
to migrate out of the spaces that no longer serve them.
Mm-hmm.
This has been happening since the beginning of time.
Since the beginning of
Animals do it,
time.
plants do it,
Mm-hmm.
everything does it.
Yeah.
When something is no longer appropriate for your existence,
Mm-hmm.
you shift.
Yes, exactly.
So if I am in Mexico City next year, that's why.
Yeah, just know.
But I'm not a colonizer. And let me just say, I'm also not a gentrifier.
You're like, we're finding the hood.
I'd rather be in the hood. Come on, you know your neighbors in the hood.
Yeah, it's true.
When I lived on F&E,
Yeah.
represent.
I'm not too crazy about big cities. I mean, because
It's a
only
big,
because I've
huge
already
city.
lived in Los Angeles and
Baby girl.
whatnot, you know. But those little villages, like, count me.
So here's the deal. Mexico City is huge. Their
Mm-hmm.
population, huge. The density is 6,200 people per square kilometer.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not what Grand Rapids has going on. Let me just see, though. Sorry, I'm doing this to you. But anyway, you know, the president of Mexico, she's standing on motherfucking business.
Yeah.
And
We support her.
the way that she spoke about what's happening at
As
the
individuals.
border,
Mm-hmm.
the way that she spoke about the things that are happening with immigrants in the U.S., the way that she spoke about the weapon issue
Mm-hmm.
and the drug issue
Mm-hmm.
that is happening solely in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yes.
She's calling out a lot of hard truths that I think a lot of people were just not willing to voice before. So
So many. Oh, and okay. So the greater Mexico City population, what do you think it is?
I don't know if I even have like a good reference number. Maybe like 3 million.
It is the 6th largest metropolitan area in the world.
In the world.
Girl, we are blind. We have no idea that this is just below us. Just on same continent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They have a population of 21,804,551 people.
What? Wow.
You know, Guadalajara has like 5 million people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Name cities in the U.S. that breach those populations.
Maybe New York.
21 million people.
Maybe Los Angeles. I don't even want to know for sure, but I do at the same time. I'm glad you're looking it up right now.
Look, we have technology. No. Now, New York, this might be New York proper. But They have 8.25 million people.
Oh, that is a
Now,
little less.
let me see metropolitan area.
Mm-hmm.
Still 19.5.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Our most diverse, our international city of the United States
Mm-hmm.
doesn't even touch
Wait, check
Mexico
Los
City.
Angeles real quick.
Los Angeles. You know what? This is no longer about women. This is about men and how mad I am that they've done this to the United States.
This is also about ADD and
Well, yeah, that helps. Metro. I'm so glad no one is seeing me type this out either. 12,799,100
yikes.
in 2023. Pretty much what we're saying is we're not doing anything to touch.
Mm-hmm.
The city proper, Mexico City, 9,200,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. Grand Rapids doesn't have 200,000 people.
Doubt it.
We could
Doubt
never.
it.
Anyway, what we're saying is this is a president of millions and millions
Uh-huh.
and millions of people.
Mhm.
And she is going to do something that is
Yeah.
so much more effective for their individual lives
Mhm.
than any president has really done in this country in a
Yeah.
very long time.
I will say when it comes to like full environmental stuff, I am curious about her in that I know that she's got some connections to like the fossil fuel industry, but she seems equally committed to clean energy and conservation. So
You
really
know,
curious about how she's gonna balance that tension because like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, she does have to balance like, let's be real, like the economy, which has been wrecked by past history,
yeah.
and moving at a pace that makes sense for the country to shift in a way that's
Yes.
not gonna leave people displaced and
That's exactly what I
have
was
you.
going to
So,
say.
really
you
curious
know.
about how that's all gonna play out.
There's not a proper infrastructure set up right now for us to say we no longer need fossil fuels.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reality is if we don't have fossil fuels, Nancy could not have brought me to do this recording today, right? Or to further that, right now Consumers Energy is still getting 30% of their energy from like coal and another 20 is from fossil fuels. So at least half of the energy that we are getting in this state is coming from natural gases or coal.
Yeah.
And so we are somewhat dependent on that, right? Our cars are dependent on it. Some of our homes are. But I think the whole point is we have to shift that infrastructure. We have to be willing to push it. We have to stop relying so heavily on it. It is not our only option. And 100%, she can't halt production for fossil fuels so that her country can have more efficient energy.
Yeah.
But she's not going to continue to invest in them so they can get efficient energy. That is not the means for this.
Baby steps.
Yeah, so I just, a huge respect, you know, it's hard enough, I think, as a woman of color to step into a position of power.
Yeah.
But she is doing it
To be
eloquently.
real, in Mexico, everybody's a person of color, so
Well,
it's,
yeah, oh my
it's a
God.
little different.
God, the U.S. is so funny. Like, even just thinking about that concept.
Imagine being somewhere where you're not a woman of color, you're just a woman.
They're like, what is this term? What is a BIPOC? We are
Why
all...
are you differentiating?
Yeah, right. We're all indigenous people.
Yeah, we all live here.
Well, yeah. Well, not, but people in Mexico, you know, most of them are
Yeah.
straight from an indigenous, you know, community,
Yeah.
which is beautiful. And I think we should respect that and respect all the people that come from such a beautiful space, you know,
Yeah. For sure.
especially the ladies,
Wow.
especially the ladies. And, you know, yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
appreciate everybody else too. But it is Women's History Month, so.
It is Women's History Month, and they do not, they're not inherently violent.
Let's just.
So some calls to action, right?
We do have a couple.
World Water Day is coming up. That is on the 22nd of March. So just after this airs. Michigan Climate Action Network, MyCan, is partnered with a handful of other organizations across the region. So like Wisconsin, Minnesota, that area. We are rolling out an origami art build for awareness.
Please explain.
Yeah, so the record for the largest number of origami fish in one craft is 18,000 origami fish.
Are y'all trying to
So we're
be
trying
record
to
breakers?
break the record. Now, we are not paying the incredible price tag that the Guinness World Book puts on these records. They're in it for the cash, baby.
Wait, you get money if you break a record?
No, you pay to beat the record.
What?
They have to send people out and do whatever. I thought that this was a friggin' free thing. It is
I thought
thousands
you
of
won.
dollars.
I didn't know that you lost. Imagine how many records we don't know about because somebody was
Because
like,
somebody was like,
that.
I'm not paying that. That's
Wow.
crazy. Capitalism.
We hate it.
All I gotta say is I don't think a lady's running that one. But what I will say is we're still going to attempt to try to get more fish.
Yeah.
It's not about breaking somebody's record. It's about the awareness piece.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Which is?
fish. No, the awareness piece is line 5. That line 5 is in a place where where there is fish. Actually, it is located on Anishinaabeg fishing grounds. So the Straits of Mackinac there's a treaty there. Those are their fishing grounds. That is where they're supposed to be allowed to openly, freely do that without anyone bothering or harming them. The pipeline does not fit that narrative. So just an awareness piece. I can go ahead and share more information, especially as we get closer. But if you want to fold some fish and have them swim on down to, the governor's office, that's where we're going to end up delivering it. Or at least a portion of it. So get involved. A fun little easy thing to do. Kids can do it. Anybody can do it. And, we're trying to reach out to like schools, organizations, trying to get large amounts.
Yeah. I want to say, if you want to be frugal, because origami paper is expensive.
Yes, it
Y'all
is.
just like fish some sheets of paper out of your recycling bin or save some of that junk mail that you don't want.
100%.
Make that into fish.
This is a great mention, and I should have said this from the top. Use recycled paper. There is no reason for you to go out and get origami paper. Use a newspaper. Use literally anything, to your point. An old bill, yeah, but then you got your information. Fold it so that your information's on the inside. No, but use junk mail. We all have plenty of it. Thank you for that mention. So just a little awareness piece, something
That
fun.
sounds so fun.
And it's a little bit later.
Okay, wait, so where do people send their fish?
Yeah, so I can send that information out. We're going to have a specific address, and I don't have that address in this moment.
Okay. But we're going to make a post about it.
Yeah, we'll make a post. There's going to be
I'll
lots
make a
of
fish for your
information
post
about
if you
it.
want.
Girl, I got to make a fish. I got to make some fish.
I'll make you some fish.
Yeah. Well, and anyone can do it. It'll be March to June, so this is not like a 1-week thing.
Okay, cool. So there'll be an opportunity for people
There
to continue to make
is.
fish.
Fish on.
Fish on.
Get a little fish. Something's fishy.
Keep on fishing.
Line 5 is fishy. Enbridge is fishy.
Smell fishy.
Is that Enbridge?
Is that Enbridge in the room? Is Enbridge with us?
She better not be, or he. It's a guy. I know it is. Anyway. Women's History Month is not about hating men.
Okay. No, but it is about loving women. So there's that. But that's the updates we have for you and the invitations. We're back on. We're back. So keep an eye out for our next episode in 2 weeks.
Yeah, excited to be back here with you. And we look forward to it, guys. We love you.
As somebody from the Three Amigos signs off, TTFN.
Ta-ta for now.
Peace.